Hello, my name is Jessica Crow. I'm a student at the Chicago School of Professional Psychology, and my supervisor is Dr. Becker. Before we get into our session today, I just want to let you know a little bit about the scope of confidentiality for our session. So everything you say in this space will remain confidential unless you report thoughts of harm to yourself or others. I'm also a mandated reporter in the state of Illinois, so if you mention knowledge of any harm to minors, the elderly, or disabled folks, I will have to make a report on that as well.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Do you have any questions today?
No, not yet.
Okay, can you introduce yourself and tell me a little bit about why you're here today?
Yeah, I'm Senna. Recently I think I've just been feeling like a little depressed, especially more than usual, like the past couple months. I feel like I've been depressed for a really long time now, and it's just really only gotten worse. So yeah, that's just kind of what I'm here for.
Okay, thank you for sharing. Can you tell me how long ago you noticed this depression starting?
I'd say like overall it's been around 2.5 years, but in the past 2 or 3 months it's really gotten a lot worse, I've noticed.
Okay. Was there something that happened 2.5 years ago in your life, or did you just find yourself in this state of depression?
I actually went through a pretty bad breakup. It just didn't go well, and I feel like I've never really recovered from it, at least not fully, and just in recent months it's just gotten a lot worse.
Okay, so what have you been feeling while being depressed? Have you experienced decreased interest in normal activities?
Yeah, I feel like I've just like not been interested in what I used to be interested in. Like I don't really have a lot of the same hobbies anymore. I'm also just like tired all the time. I don't really want to get out of bed. I haven't been eating as much as I normally do. I guess I've just been feeling like just worthless and hopeless.
Okay, and so has this been for the past 2.5 years, or has this been more recently?
It's just gotten a lot worse recently. Like, I've kind of always had those symptoms, but
okay.
I feel like now it's just gotten so much worse than it really was before. I'm not really able to manage it as much anymore.
Okay. So you mentioned issues with sleeping. How often would you say you're sleeping every night?
It kind of depends on the night, but I'd say I get around like 6 hours of sleep a night. Sometimes more, sometimes less, depending on the day.
Depending on the day?
Around that.
Okay, and then what about your eating habits? You said you haven't really been eating a lot?
Yeah, I've just noticed the past like 3 months, I've just been eating a lot less. Like I don't feel hungry. And I've also lost like some weight too because of it, so.
Have you noticed, when you say you've lost weight, have you noticed your pants fitting any looser?
Yeah, a little bit, definitely.
Okay. Are you experiencing a lot of loss of energy as well?
Yeah.
Okay. What about decreased concentration on everyday activities?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it kind of depends on what I'm doing, especially like with the hobbies that I used to like I used to really enjoy like doing art and things like that, and now every time I even try to do it, it's just like exhausting. It just doesn't really bring me joy anymore, so I've just kind of stopped doing it.
Yeah, okay. Thank you for sharing that. So you mentioned all these symptoms starting 2.5 years ago when you went through a breakup, and it's been getting worse within the last 3 months. Is there something that happened 3 months ago that made these symptoms worse?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess 3 months ago I did go through something that was really tough. I just haven't really like been able to bounce back from. I was walking home one night and like these 2 guys jumped me and they held me at gunpoint and like they assaulted me, and it's just been like something that's really been bothering me. I haven't really been able to talk to anyone about it, and yeah, I've just noticed that it just made things a lot worse.
Yeah, that sounds like a really hard thing to go through. Thank you so much for sharing that. So you were assaulted at gunpoint by two men one night, and you've been experiencing these depressive symptoms since.
Yeah.
When you think about this event that occurred, do you find yourself stressed or getting upset, or are you avoiding the memories at all?
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of why I don't talk about it a lot, is like, I feel like I'll get like flashbacks sometimes, and like when I do talk about it, I get all like nervous, and like my hands get shaky and sweaty, and like, I don't know, it really stresses me out, I think, which is just like why I don't talk about it. But after that, I have noticed things have gotten worse.
So when you mention you have flashbacks, you're able to recall the event and the details of the event, or are those kind of blurry for you?
Parts of it are like a little bit blurry. I feel like I remember more of like the beginning of the interaction rather than like the assault.
Yeah.
You know, I try to kind of block that out, honestly. But I do remember like what they looked like, things like that.
Okay, so they weren't wearing masks or anything?
No.
Okay. When you are around people in your everyday life, do you become startled easily?
Yeah, I don't really like going out anymore. I feel like I kind of try to stay inside. It's just safer that way, and I don't know, people are just a little bit much for me right now. Like, I've noticed that like I get startled easily. I don't really like being in loud places anymore. It's just like too much.
Okay, so it sounds like you're avoiding leaving the house because you're afraid of interacting with people.
Yeah, at this point, I want to do whatever I can to keep myself safe, and
okay.
Yeah.
Have you been avoiding anything else? Maybe certain places or certain people you know?
I try not to go around the same place that I was that night anymore. I don't go on that street anymore, ever, honestly. Yeah, I don't know. I guess that's it, really.
Okay. Are you experiencing any recurrent dreams about the assault and being held at gunpoint, or any nightmares that's impacting your sleep? I know you mentioned before you're not sleeping as much, but is that because you just can't sleep, or are you having nightmares?
Yeah, I feel like it's definitely harder for me to actually fall asleep. And then once I am asleep, I'll sleep for maybe like a couple hours, but then I get a nightmare, and then it's like that same cycle over and over again. Like, I have a hard time falling back asleep after that.
Okay.
Yeah.
How often would you say your nightmares occur?
I'd say maybe like 4 nights a week. Sometimes it's better, sometimes it's worse, but around there.
And has this been occurring every week since the event, or did this kind of have a delayed start?
I'd say it didn't really happen until maybe a week or two after, but it was pretty soon after.
So it's been about 2 months of having these nightmares.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you experiencing any negative beliefs about yourself? Any feelings of shame or guilt?
Yeah, I feel like, I don't know, I feel like sometimes it was my fault that it happened. I feel like I should have known better than to be out there at night on that street. Ever since then, I don't like looking at myself in the mirror anymore, just things like that, I guess.
Well, thank you for sharing that. It definitely was not your fault. You were just in the wrong place, and like you said, these men completely jumped you, and you had no idea that this was going to happen. It kind of came out of nowhere. So you mentioned before diminished interest in activities. Would you say this has gotten worse after this traumatic event occurred?
Yeah, I've pretty much just given up most of my, I guess, just like fun activities that I used to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I kind of just gave up on art, which that was something I used to have fun doing, even when I noticed I was depressed before. But now it's just like, it's too much. It's too much work.
Yeah. Are you finding it hard to experience positive emotions such as joy?
Yeah, I think, I don't know, I've just kind of been staying inside lately and just focusing on getting through the day.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't really have time or energy to feel happy anymore, you know?
Yeah, I'm really sorry.
It's okay.
Are you experiencing any irritability or anger?
Not really. No, mostly just too tired to feel angry.
Yeah. Have you engaged in any reckless activities within the last 3 months?
Not recently, no.
No? Okay. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. I'm just going to ask a few more questions if that's okay.
Yeah, that's okay.
Have you been experiencing excessive worry or difficulty controlling your worry?
No, not really.
No?
Sometimes I feel a little bit anxious, like when I get flashbacks and stuff, but that's really it.
Okay, so when you're having those flashbacks, do you notice that you are restless or irritable?
I'd say more restless.
More restless? Okay. Do you have any muscle tension in your body?
All the time.
All the time?
I think I'm just always a little bit stressed out.
Stressed out, maybe hypervigilant?
Yeah.
Okay. And did that muscle tension start 3 months ago, or did you experience that prior?
It's definitely gotten worse recently, I think.
Okay.
But I've always kind of been tense.
Yeah. Okay. Do you know what a panic attack is?
Yeah, I think I've had one before.
Can you tell me a little bit about that experience and what you felt?
Yeah, I think in the moment I was just like really caught up in it. I don't know how to explain it. I was just like feeling super panicked and overwhelmed. A lot of my like symptoms were really physical. Like I felt like I couldn't breathe and like get enough air, and like I started sweating and like my hands were all shaky. Again, just like it was mostly the breath for me. I just felt like I really couldn't breathe, and it almost felt like I just didn't have control on my over my body.
And when did this panic attack occur?
I haven't had one super recently, but I'd say about like maybe a month ago.
A month ago?
Yeah.
And where were you when this happened?
I was actually out of the house. It was one of the first times after I left, after the incident.
Okay, and you mentioned kind of increased heart rate, sweating, shaky hands, shortness of breath.
Yeah.
Did you, in the moment, did you feel like you were going to die, or were you scared that you were going to die?
Yeah, I really didn't know what was going on, and like I honestly thought I was having a heart attack or something.
Yeah.
It was really scary, but I don't know.
How were you able to come out of that?
Eventually I went back inside. I ended up getting home. It took a while, but I think I eventually just like calmed myself down.
So you were alone at this time?
My sister was home. I actually live with her, but she wasn't too much help. She didn't really know what was going on either, but eventually the symptoms just kind of started to go away. I finally like was able to catch my breath.
And do you know how long this occurred for? How many minutes?
I don't know, maybe like 20 minutes.
20 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. So you mentioned diminished sleep and nightmares that are keeping you awake at night. Do you ever feel like you have a decreased need for sleep, or you feel rested maybe off like 2 hours of sleep?
Yeah, I think sometimes I don't know, maybe I'm just like getting used to not sleeping, or I don't really know what it is, but I really don't need as much sleep to function as well as I did before.
Okay. What about sleeping too much?
I guess I'd say that used to be an issue, like back a couple years ago, but I haven't really been sleeping anymore.
What about racing thoughts or a flight of ideas? Have you ever experienced that?
Not really.
No? Okay. Any distractibility?
I wouldn't say necessarily distracted. I think I just get caught up in my own head sometimes. Like, it's not really like outside stuff that's distracting, it's more like my own thoughts.
Okay. But does it impair your functioning? Like, are you still able to get things done, or are you caught up in the distractions?
I guess I'd say I'm a little bit less productive at work.
Okay.
Kind of since everything happened, I do think I get more distracted than usual, but it is just kind of always in my own head, and then I kind of catch myself. And
is this due to flashbacks or negative thoughts?
a little bit of both.
A little bit of both?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you found yourself very focused on goal-directed activities? No?
Not really.
Okay. And when you talk, do people ever tell you that what you're saying doesn't make sense or is incoherent for them?
I think sometimes when I haven't gotten enough sleep, or like if I'm really stressed out or just like not having a good day, sometimes my sister will like kind of tease me, but I don't really know how serious it is just because we tease each other all the time.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Do you know what a delusion is?
yeah, I do actually.
Have you ever had a belief that someone was out to harm you in any way?
No, not really.
No.
I think sometimes I get anxious when I like go outside, but it's never really like I don't see someone on the street and think they're like out to get me.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay, what about any beliefs that someone in your family or maybe you are famous or super wealthy? If you're not. No?
No.
Okay. Do you know what a hallucination is?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you ever seen anything that maybe others can't see?
No.
Have you ever heard anything that others can't hear?
No, I don't think so.
What about smelled or tasted anything that wasn't there? No? Okay, thank you. Okay. So I would like to know if you have ever had any suicidal thoughts.
I guess like in the past, no, but recently, yeah. I just feel like life isn't really worth living anymore, and it just feels like every day is just so much work.
Yeah.
And it's just like so hard to get through the day now. I don't know.
Okay, so you say that in the past you never really had those thoughts, but more recently you have.
Yeah.
Do you have those thoughts right now?
Yeah, kinda.
Okay, so how long have you been having these suicidal thoughts?
Maybe like a month and a half.
Okay. Do you have a plan?
I mean, like, not really. I think sometimes, like, there are times where, like, I want to hurt myself, but I don't really, like, I don't have it all planned out yet, you know?
So you haven't acquired anything to harm or to take your own life or anything like that? Okay, do you ever have thoughts where, like, you're crossing the street maybe, and if a car were to come hit you, you would just be like, okay, like you're okay with dying?
Yeah, I think at this point I've just, like, accepted it. I just don't have my plan yet.
Okay. Do you intend to take your own life, or are these just kind of passive thoughts?
I don't really know yet, honestly.
You don't know? Okay. Have you ever had thoughts of harming yourself without the intent of dying?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
Do you have those thoughts currently? Yes? And have you had them in the past?
The past few months, I'd say yeah.
Okay. And do you have a plan to harm yourself without the intent of dying? Okay, can you tell me what that plan is?
Well, normally I'll just use a lighter that we have in the house.
So you have harmed yourself?
Yeah.
Okay, how long ago was this?
I've kind of been doing it on and off the last 2 months, I'd say.
2 months? When was the last time you harmed yourself?
Yesterday.
Yesterday? And you said you use a lighter to burn. Have you ever done anything else? No. Okay. Thank you very much for sharing. Is there anything that is stopping you from having a plan to take your life?
I think right now the only thing is just my job and my apartment.
Yeah.
I share it with my sister, like I said, and I just I don't know if I want her to walk in and see me one day like that.
Okay. So your job and sounds like your family as well. Okay. And have you ever had thoughts of harming others?
Never others.
Never?
No.
Okay. And not currently?
No.
Okay. Okay. Before we move on, I'm just going to give a little summary of why you're here today and what you've come in with. And if there's anything I'm missing, please let me know, okay? Okay, so you've come in today. The past 2.5 years, you've been feeling depressed with decreased sleep, not eating as much, feeling really down. The past 3 months, you've been feeling worse, worthless, very depressed. 3 months ago, you experienced a traumatic event where one night when you were coming home from work, 2 men jumped you, held you at gunpoint, and assaulted you. Ever since, you've been feeling very down. The memories of it really stress you out. You have flashbacks that make you anxious. You are having nightmares in which, when you wake up, it's hard for you to fall back asleep. You're hypervigilant and your startle response is exaggerated. You're avoiding the street where this event took place. You're also avoiding leaving your house and interacting with people. You are feeling guilty, like this may have been your fault, even though it wasn't. You are feeling less interested in normal activities such as your art and your creative work. You are experiencing muscle tension, a little bit of irritability. You've lost weight as well due to not eating. You had a panic attack about a month ago, but haven't had one since. You become distracted easily. Sometimes when you talk, you said that it doesn't make sense, or people tell you it doesn't make sense, but you think it's due to lack of sleep. And you have a history of self-harm without the intent of dying, in which the last time you self-harmed was yesterday, and you were having current thoughts of suicide but no plan.
Yeah.
Does that all sound correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. At this point, I would like to go into a little bit of your background history, if that's all right with you.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay. Um, can you tell me where you grew up, and who was in your house?
Yeah, I grew up in upstate New York, in Rochester, if you know the area. And then I just lived with like my sister, my mom, and my dad.
Okay. What was your childhood like? Was it fun? Was it chaotic? Was it crazy?
Yeah, I'd say it was pretty crazy. Me and my sister always used to get into like fights and stuff. We're actually really close, so there's that. We both grew up doing sports and like a whole bunch of activities after school and stuff like that. And then our mom was like a stay-at-home mom, and then our dad mostly traveled for work. So yeah, it was pretty crazy.
Sounds like you had a good relationship with your sister, just normal sibling arguments.
Yeah.
How was your relationship with your mom and dad?
Pretty good, I'd say. I'm definitely closer to my mom than I am my dad.
Yeah.
But I think that's just because she was home all the time.
Yeah. Okay. And then in your household, was there any history of abuse, physical, verbal, sexual?
No
abuse
like
at all?
No.
Okay. Thank you. What is your highest level of education?
I got my college degree.
So was that a bachelor's?
Mm-hmm.
Bachelor's
degree in business.
In business? Okay, where did you go to college?
Miami University.
Oh, okay, awesome. And how long ago was that?
Let's see. I'm 27 now, so like 6 years ago.
6 years ago? Okay, and you said you got a bachelor's in business?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, awesome. How was your college experience?
It was good. Pretty normal, I'd say.
Did you have a lot of friends? Did you party a lot? Did you study a lot?
I was in a sorority, so it was pretty crazy sometimes, but I felt like they kind of gave me a lot of support too. Like we did a lot of studying and stuff together, so it was fun.
That's awesome. Okay, and then how about high school? What was that like for you?
Pretty normal, I'd say. I was pretty busy. I did a lot of like extracurriculars. Like I did art back then. I also played like the piano and did stuff like that. So.
And you said you were in sports as well?
Yeah.
What sports?
I did track mostly, and I did indoor and outdoor, so it was year round.
Okay, cool. Did you have a lot of friends growing up as well?
Yeah. I'd say like I had friends from like each of my activities that I did, so I had a pretty big group of friends.
Okay, that's awesome. And then did you ever experience bullying in high school?
I mean, I would get picked on sometimes. I used to weigh a lot more, so sometimes there would be issues with that, but other than that, no.
No? Okay. So can you tell me a little bit about your career? Where are you working right now?
I actually work from home. I'm a business analyst, so I get to kind of just do everything on my computer.
Yeah, do you like that?
I used to. I think I've recently just gotten a little bit bored with it.
How long have you been working, doing this remote job?
I've been at this job for the past 4 years. Yeah.
And were you working before that, or were you just finishing up college?
I was mostly just finishing up college, looking for something that was full-time, something that I enjoyed. I kind of bounced around for a little bit, but...
Okay. I know you say you work remotely, but what is the environment like? Do you have to Zoom with colleagues? Do you check in with a supervisor?
Yeah, I do have Zoom meetings. I normally have one just like once a day to check in with my supervisor. Sometimes twice a day if they want to make sure I got all of my work done. But I'm pretty much on my own for the most part.
Okay, and then when you do meet with people, how is that? Do you get along with everyone? Do they get along with you?
Yeah, I'm pretty quiet, so I don't really have a lot of friends at work. Also just like being at home, you don't really like get out much to see people.
Yeah.
Everyone's fine, I guess. I'm just not really close with anyone.
Okay. And then so you said you're kind of bored of it. Are you looking for a new job? Maybe something different or something similar with a new company?
I haven't really looked into it yet, but I'm thinking about maybe doing something like that soon. I don't know.
Okay. Have you ever been in the military? No.
No.
Okay. Are you currently in a relationship?
No.
No relationships. When was the last time you were in a relationship?
Maybe like 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago.
Okay,
That's
yeah.
the breakup that I had.
Okay. Can you tell me why it ended?
I think we were just like in 2 different places. I don't know. He was just like ready to settle down and I necessarily wasn't. So
Okay. And so that was 2.5 years ago, right? So you've been single this time? Okay. Do you want to be in a relationship right now? No? Why not?
it just seems like too much work.
Too much work.
And also just like, I don't know. It just feels like no one is, like I'm not really right for anyone, you know?
What makes you say that?
I think after just like everything happened, I just feel kind of gross about myself, you know? Like, I don't even like looking at myself in the mirror. Like, how is someone else gonna look at me? You know?
So maybe you just need some time.
Maybe, yeah.
Okay. What about before this incident occurred? Were you looking to date or were you just more enjoying being single?
I think I was just enjoying being single. I wasn't necessarily like looking for anything, but yeah.
Okay. And then you mentioned growing up and having a lot of friendships and being in a sorority in college and having a lot of friendships. Right now in your life, would you say that you have good relationships with friends?
I mean, I have my sister, but I kind of lost contact with a lot of those people.
Are there any friends you are in contact with?
Maybe like 1 or 2. We text every once in a while, but that's it.
So would you say that they're not good friends? Like they're not a good core group of friends?
Not really anymore.
Not anymore. Okay. And then have you ever experienced any abuse in any relationships?
No.
Okay. What are some things that bring you happiness, or what do you enjoy doing?
I don't know. I guess I used to really enjoy my art and my music. I used to play piano and stuff. But I don't know, recently it kind of just feels like nothing makes me feel the way I used to. Yeah.
What about your relationship with your sister? Does that bring you happiness? Are you able to enjoy your time with her?
Sometimes I'd say yeah. I think we're both just really busy, so I don't really have time to hang out with her as much anymore. She just got a new job, so the last like month I've barely seen her.
Okay. Do you know of your mother or father's psychological history?
Yeah, we've never really had any problems like that before. We're kind of one of those households where mental illness doesn't really exist. It wasn't really in our circle or anything like that, so.
Okay, so you don't. Okay, so when you say it doesn't exist, does that mean like your family didn't believe in it, or no one really had any
I guess
diagnoses?
like no one just really had any. I don't really know how they would feel about it, just because it was never really an issue before for anyone, but yeah.
Okay. So no psychological history. What about substance use in your family?
No one really like drinks or anything like that.
No, nothing too out of control or anything?
No, only socially.
Okay. Do you belong to any religious affiliations or have any religious views or spiritual views?
No, not really.
No. You were never baptized?
No.
Never grew up going to church? Okay. Thank you. So you mentioned 2.5 years ago is when you started feeling depressed. Have you ever been diagnosed with anything?
No, I mean, I've been depressed for a while, but I kind of just thought that was because of my breakup, and that I'd eventually like get over it, you know.
Have you ever seen a therapist or been hospitalized for anything?
No, this is really the first time I've done anything like this.
Okay, what do you think of therapy?
I think it's great for some people. I don't really know exactly what it really entails, but yeah, I'm sure it works for a lot of people. I've heard really good things.
Okay. What about for yourself though?
I'd be open to it, I guess. I mean, that's kind of why I'm reaching out.
And
It's
you're
like,
here, yeah.
I guess I just don't really know what else to do.
Okay. What about your substance use history?
I don't really drink or anything all that much. I mean, sometimes I'll drink socially, but it's only like when I'm out with friends or if I'm like with my family or something like that.
Okay, so you've never found yourself getting out of control with drinking or drinking alone?
No, I'm never alone or anything.
Okay. So no drinking. What about drug use?
Sometimes I'll smoke like cannabis or something like that, but again, it's only socially. I would never like do it on my own or anything.
Okay. And then, have you ever been arrested or gone to jail?
No.
No. Okay. Now that we've covered kind of why you're here today and a bit about your background and history of your life, I would like to ask if you have any goals you would like to work on in therapy.
I guess something I'd really want to work towards is just like being happy again.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I've just kind of been in the same place for so long that I've just gotten used to it.
Okay. I think that's a really great place to start. And I look forward to working with you.
Yeah, me too.
Let's meet again next week. Does this time work for you?
Yeah, that works.
Okay. Well, when you leave here today, you can set up an appointment at reception, and I will see you next week.
Okay, it was so nice getting to talk to you.
You too. Thank you.